Going to read Unit 1, Chapter 2, On to the Summit. Right? Before we read this chapter, let's do the icebreaker exercises. ठीक है? Icebreakers होते हैं so that you start thinking in terms of the topic. अभी तो हम लोग अलग अलग चीजें सोच रहे हैं. So when we do these icebreaker activities, we start thinking about summit, about the topic that we are going to study. So that is why we have these icebreaker activities. ठीक है? Okay. Different activities related to climbing. What are the different activities related to climbing? Rock climbing करते हैं, then mountain climbing करते हैं. बहुत सारी activities होती हैं जिसमें जो कुछ some activities happen outside in nature, some activities also happen in closed places. कुछ लोग they set up an adventure park or something where they have these activities, है ना? जैसे rappelling, this is rappelling. ये safety belt बांध के you climb mountains. तो ऐसे कुछ क्लोज स्पेसेस में भी होते हैं जहाँ पे ये तो बाहर माउंटेन में है, बट कुछ लोग प्ले एरियाज में बच्चों के लिए बना देते हैं और वहां पे यू कैन डू रैपलिंग, राइट? जिसे ये कर रहे हैं तो वो बहुत डेंजरस नहीं होते, वो थोड़ा सा इतना खतरनाक नहीं होते हैं, है ना? जैसे ये है, ये किसी ने बनाया हुआ है एक कैंप पे ताकि चिल्ड्रन कैन डू रैपलिंग, राइट? और कौन सी एक्टिविटीज होती है? माउंटेनियरिंग, पहाड़ पे चढ़ना, राइट? व्हेन यू climb mountains. And sometimes those mountains have snow. Sometimes they may not have snow, right? This is mountaineering. Climbing mountains. और कौन सी activities होती हैं? Tree climbing. This is something I'm sure all of you must have done at some point. Climbing trees, right? Some people do it for fun, safety belt बांध के so that you don't fall. Some people do it for work. You see this person is going up the tree and bringing down the coconuts, right? This person is doing it for fun and entertainment, right? This is a child playing in the park, right? So these are some simple activities. Then there's wall climbing. When you climb a wall, it is similar to rappelling. ये wall climbing है. Wall पे ऐसे obstacles लगा देते हैं and there is a safety belt and you try and climb the wall. ये देखो, जैसे ये है, इसको पकड़ के you climb the wall. So these are activities for children. ठीक है? You get an idea of what wall climbing looks like. ठीक? ये देखो, safety belt बंधी हुई है so that you don't fall and you go up and then you can come down using the stairs. Okay? So these are some activities that people do related to climbing. Okay. There are certain prerequisites for mountaineering. With reference to the following points, develop a short dialogue between you and your friend. So when you engage in mountaineering, you climb mountains. So You need to be physically fit, because if you're not physically fit, if you're overweight or you get tired easily, or you're not very strong physically, so you will not be able to climb the mountain. वहाँ पे there is no there are no hotels, there are no tea stalls, there are no hospitals. You only have first aid and main things. So physical fitness is a must. Then clothes, depending on the weather. जिस तरह का weather है, you have to carry those clothes, right? Then you have to train, you have to practice. Before you actually go on the mountain, you have to practice and train. बिना ट्रेनिंग के you can't straight away go to the mountain. Mountain पे जाने से पहले you have to train so that you are ready for mountaineering, right? And you need certain equipment जो वहाँ पे जरूरत होती है, उस distance को आप comfortable होना चाहिए. You should have that kind of time as well, right? So what are the problems that a mountaineer face? A mountaineer will okay. A mountaineer or a person who climbs mountains is also called a trekker because you go trekking. ठीक है, तो mountaineer or trekker faces many hazards. Hazards is danger, threat, risk during an expedition. Expedition is the visit, the mission, right? The plan. These include extreme weather conditions, heavy snowfall, landslides, avalanches, falling rocks, slippery paths, and lack of oxygen at high altitudes. So, jitna you go up the mountain, the level of oxygen keeps coming down, right? And achanak snowfall can start, or snow starts melting. So, there are different kinds of problems that one faces when you climb a mountain. I'll show you what an avalanche looks like. They may also suffer from injuries. So, when you're doing such difficult trekking, one might get hurt also. You might be dehydrated. Maybe you're not having enough fluids. So, you get dehydrated. Exhaustion. Of course, you get tired. It's very demanding and it's very exhausting. And then altitude sickness. When you reach a certain height, sometimes you start feeling sick. And you can lose your way because वहाँ पे तो कोई signpost है नहीं. There's just a huge mountain, right? You might go in the wrong direction. Therefore, proper training, equipment, and safety precautions are essential for a successful expedition. I want you to just listen to this translation.
एखाद्या गिर्यारोहकाला किंवा ट्रेकरला मोहिमेदरम्यान अनेक धोक्यांचा सामना करावा लागतो. यामध्ये अत्यंत प्रतिकूल हवामान, मुसळधार हिमवृष्टी, भूस्खलन, हिमस्खलन, कोसळणारे दगड, निसरड्या वाटा आणि जास्त उंचीवर ऑक्सिजनची कमतरता यांचा समावेश होतो. त्यांना दुखापती, निर्जलीकरण, थकवा, उंचीमुळे होणारा आजार आणि रस्ता चुकणे यांसारख्या समस्यांनाही सामोरे जावे लागू शकते. त्यामुळे यशस्वी मोहिमेसाठी योग्य प्रशिक्षण, उपकरणे आणि सुरक्षेची खबरदारी घेणे अत्यावश्यक आहे.
Right? Now I'll just show you what an avalanche is. Avalanches जब पहाड़ों से बर्फ पिघल के नीचे आती है, it is very dangerous because it's huge. I'll just show you a video, a short video, to help you understand what avalanches look like.
Wait,
Just
how old
one
is the new
second.
hire?
I don't know, but he literally uses Excel.
With terrifying speed, an avalanche can rumble down a mountain slope,
burying everything in its path under a lethal blanket of snow. Each year, about 150 people in Europe and North America die from avalanches.
Did you see what is happening? जो पहाड़ पे बर्फ है, the snow starts melting and it becomes so huge that any houses, anything in the way, it completely destroys. So these are very dangerous. If somebody gets caught in an avalanche, they can die, right?
But when layers form weak bonds, any new snow falls on an unstable foundation.
See the
and
amount of
waits for the right trigger.
snow.
The shape and angle of the slope are important factors, 30 and 40. Contrary to popular opinion, loud noises like yelling won't trigger an avalanche. In most cases, it's the sudden weight of a skier or snowmobiler that makes the surface unstable.
See how it's coming down the mountain.
At speeds up to 8.
These are the dangers that a mountaineer or a trekker faces, right? So it's very challenging to go trekking on the mountains. Asan nahi hai. So what we are going to read about is Tenzing Norgay. I'll just show you who this person is. This is Tenzing Norgay. He was born in Darjeeling on 28th May 1914 and he died on 9th May 1986, right? And he with Edmund Hillary, he's Edmund Hillary. Two of them were the first people to climb the Mount Everest in 1953, right? And that is what he is famous for. Okay, these two people had climbed the Mount Everest pehli baar in 1953. Okay, so this chapter is about him. Okay, so we've just seen Tenzing Norgay was born on 29th May 1914 and he died on 9th May 1986. And his birth name was Nangyal Wangdi and he's referred to as Sherpa Tenzing because he was a Sherpa mountaineer. And he was one of the first people, first of the two people, the second being Edmund Hillary. ठीक है? और ये उन्होंने, these are the various medals and awards that he had got in his lifetime, right? Okay. So this article describes what brought him to climbing mountains. How did he get interested in climbing mountains? This article is about that. On to the summit, we reach the top. So this is about how they reach the top. When we left Camp 9 on Friday morning, I was determined to get to the top on this day. That morning, I remember thinking, I was to get to the top even if I die. I was not afraid to die that day. We set out early and all the way from Camp 9 to the peak, we alternated. I would take the lead and then Hillary. So they took turns. थोड़ी देर, थोड़े रास्ते में Tenzing Norgay would lead and फिर थोड़े रास्ते में Hillary would lead, right? So they took turns to lead. The man who follows when climbing has a difficult job both in climbing up and climbing down. He is the anchor. The man going in the lead cuts the steps and breaks the way. So they have somebody who's with them and he is cutting the steps so that they are able to climb the mountain. In my pocket, I had 4 flags. When we were still at Camp 4, Colonel Hunt gave me 3 flags those of Britain, the United States, and Nepal. He charged me with the duty of planting them on the top of the world. These 3 flags are in your care, he said. When you and Hillary reach the top, put them at the peak. I'm sure that you and Hillary are going to do it. So the 3 flags were of Britain, United States, and Nepal. But he also had a 4th flag. Okay. I told Colonel Hunt that I was carrying the Indian flag with me and I would like to be on the top of the other flags. I had to ask Captain Hunt's permission in his capacity as leader of the expedition. So he says, I'll put these 3 flags, but I want to put the Indian flag on the top. Right? Colonel Hunt said, by all means, I'm glad to know that you brought an Indian flag. So Colonel Hunt says, I'm fine with it. Please go ahead. After 1 hour of steady going, we cut across from the south face and started up the west side, where we had to pass up the steep line of rocks. This was slow and difficult. Once we had cleared these, there was nothing barring our way to the top but a snow-covered incline, sloping less and less as it neared the top. So as they went up, the slope became less and less. So it became more difficult to climb. These last 60 or 70 feet up the top were not very dangerous, but we kept up the same steady pace. When we reached the small flattened summit almost together, during the last 50 feet from the peak, Hillary and I were moving about 20 feet apart. We were tied together by a rope. Most of the time, the rope was loose, but when we went over dangerous ground, we drew it taut. So, Hillary and Edmund were tied to each other with a rope. And when they were crossing the dangerous areas, they would be tightly tied to each other. This rope was a symbol. It tied us together. One could not move without the other. We were not individuals, but a team. Team games में होता है ना, if you're tied to each other, दोनों साथ में भागते हैं, दोनों साथ में कूदते हैं. So, like that, they were also a team. One could not move without the other. I have been asked many times, who was first? When we were within the reach of the summit, I did not think of who was going to be first. I'm sure that Hillary was not thinking that. Climbing takes all the attention. You have many more important worries. So there was no competition between them. They knew that we will both climb together and we should focus on safety. What does it matter whether I reach the top first or Hillary? Our main thought was that both of us reach the top. We had to. One couldn't do it alone. So they knew they had to do it together and they could not have done it alone. If there was a difference of 1,000 feet between us, then one would make the claim that he was first. But even then, only the man behind him could confirm the distance between the two of them. When we reached Kathmandu, we discovered that a controversy had arisen. We talked it over, Hillary, Colonel Hunt and I. We agreed that all the talk was childish. So we made a pact and each of us signed it in the office of the Prime Minister of Nepal. Each one signed his own statement. I have a copy of Hillary's statement which I carry in my pocket. It reads, Kathmandu, June 22, 1953. On May 29, Tenzing Sherpa and I left our high camp at Mount Everest for our attempt on the summit. As we climbed upwards to the south summit, first one and then over the other would take a turn at leading. We crossed over the south summit and moved along the summit ridge. We reached the summit almost together. We embraced each other, overjoyed at our success. Then I took photograph of Tenzing holding afloat the flags of Great Britain, Nepal, United States, and India. And this was signed by Hillary. And same paper like this was also signed by Tenzing to say that we climbed together, we were together, and both of us were the first people on the summit. So there is no competition between us. Thus, we did not take part in any controversy. As the statement says, Hillary and I embraced when we reached the top. We did as well as our bulky equipment could let us. I remember saying to him, we have done it, but we couldn't hear. We had our oxygen masks on. So, because of the mask, they could not even hear each other speak. And they reached together, and when they reached the top, they hugged each other, congratulated each other. First thought. My first thought on reaching the top was a sense of gratitude to God that after having failed 6 times, He had blessed me with the fulfillment of this desire I had held so long. So 6 times before he had tried and he had failed. So he was glad that the 7th time he was able to actually climb the summit of the Mount Everest. I placed on the summit the offerings to God that I had carried with me. This is in accord with my religion. Both my wife and I are Buddhists. I could not kneel because of my clothes and equipment, but I offered a silent prayer in my heart. The offerings were biscuits, candy, and a little blue pencil. My youngest daughter, Nima, had given me the pencil before I left home. She asked me to put it on the top of the mountain as her offering. It was an ordinary blue pencil, not even a long one, but it was one of her prized possessions. So his wife, his daughter, and himself, he had brought some religious offerings, and the daughter gave one of her favorite pencils for Tenzing to put on the summit of Mount Everest. As I put it down, I pointed it out to Hillary. He gave me a big smile and showed that he understood. Then I got out the flags, which I had on a piece of string about 4 feet long. I fastened one end to my ice axe, and Hillary took pictures as I held it up. As I had to bring my ice axe down with me, I buried one end of the string in the ice on top and the other in the snow on the slope down below. When we left, we were lying flat against the summit. I was very thirsty. I took out a water tumbler for a drink, but found the water in the metal container has frozen, so I couldn't quench my thirst. I ate some biscuits and offered some to Hillary. So it was so cold there that the water they carried with them had frozen. I was wearing a red scarf which my great friend Lambert, leader of the 1952 Swiss expedition, had given me last year. It was just a year ago on May 28th when we were standing at 28,215 feet that he gave me the scarf. I wore it all the way up the mountain from Darjeeling. As I stood at the top, I remembered him and felt that he was with me. I felt absolutely fit at the summit. My mind was absolutely clear. I didn't feel tired. I felt exhilarated. It was a very clear sensation. So exhilarated is extremely happy, on cloud 9, very, very, very euphoric, full of euphoria, happiness, excitement, achievement, So, very happy. He says, I remember it very clearly. Below, all the hills and mountains looked like gods and goddesses to me. The plains below looked like so many broken pieces on the map because everything looked very small. When you're standing at the top of Mount Everest and looking down at the plains, everything looks very tiny. 2 or 3 people could stand there on the roof of the world if you cut ice. 20 or 30 feet below the top, there was enough flat square for 2 people to sleep. So on the top was so small that if you cut the extra ice from there, 2-3 people can stand there. Just enough place for them to stand. But if you come down thoda sa, so there is enough flat place, just enough for 2 people to be able to sleep. So approximately the size of a bed. You could pitch one tent there. The summit was flat on one side and steep on the other. So one side was flat and the other was steep. There is snow on the northern side, rocks on the south and east, and snowy rock on the west. We stayed on the top a little more than 15 minutes. We were lucky that there was no gale or it would have swept us off, because there was nothing to hold on to and there was very little space. If there was wind, they might have fallen, right? My next thought was how to get down safely. Now they had reached the top of the summit. Now they also had to come down safely. On the descent from the summit, I was walking behind Hillary. I was following him and holding the rope tightly, and my determination was to make sure he descended safely. I must say that the climb down was more difficult and dangerous than the climb up. If you slipped down, you would go into Kanchung Glacier and there would be no trace left of you, right? Because there's just lots and lots of ice. So if you slip there, if you fall down, you will vanish in that glacier, in that huge land of snow. More caution needed. Of course, it took less time climbing down, but you needed more huzier. That means caution, care. When I reached Camp 9, my first thought was, thank God we have been spared an accident. And if up to now there has been no accidents, I hope there will be none in future. I had always prayed to God and He had saved me. So, Tensing was praying to God, thank you God, we are fine, we have not had an accident, and I hope in the future also nothing wrong happens, no accident takes place. At Camp 9, Hillary and I were in no mood for any talking. We just attended to our own things. We stayed there about half an hour. We boiled some snow to make lemon water and drank it. When we left, we took only our sleeping bags and left everything else behind in the tent. From Camp 9 to Camp 8, where we spent the night, was an easier job. Just above Camp 8, where the others could see us, I raised my arm with my thumb up. Noise and WC, Lois saw us and their faces flushed with joy. In this way, I was able to tell them of our success. As we got nearer to Camp 8, Lois came to meet us and came up to 300 feet with tea and coffee. So when they came down to Camp 8, they were served tea and coffee. Another 50 feet down, we met Nois, who brought us more tea. This tea smelled kerosene. Apparently, it had been made in a hurry and somehow some kerosene got into the welcome cup. But I thought since the gentleman had taken so much trouble to bring it, I was going to enjoy it, whatever the smell. See, that's such a beautiful gesture. Nois brought tea for them because he brought it in a hurry. Some kerosene it spilled into the tea. And to value and honor the emotions, the feelings of the person who had got him this tea, Tenzing decided to drink it in spite of the smell of kerosene. Right? So, such a huge achievement and such simple people. Right? Such a down to earth person. Right? Now, the first thing you do is summarize in your own words the highly risky and dangerous journey of Tenzing and Hillary from the base to the top of Mount Everest. So, in your own words, you can write about this journey that Tenzing and Hillary took from the basis, the bottom of the mountain, to the summit, the top of the mountain. Okay. So you can say Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary undertook a dangerous expedition to Mount Everest. They crossed steep rocky slopes, snowy paths, and freezing conditions. The final climb was extremely risky, but they continued with courage and determination. They were tied together by a rope and worked as a team. After overcoming all the difficulties, they successfully reached the summit of Mount Everest on 29th May 1953 and created history. How did they create history? They were the first people to reach the summit of Mount Everest, right? Okay, complete the web highlighting the feelings and emotions of Tenzing after reaching the summit. Once Tenzing reaches there, what is he feeling? What are his emotions? So he starts by offering his thanks to God. He says, "Thank you, God, for making this possible." And he offers the biscuits and the pencil his daughter gave and other offerings that he had got from home. Then he felt joy and happiness that he was finally able to do this. Pride and satisfaction also, because you plan so much in advance, you exercise and you take so many steps to actually make such a dream possible. And finally, there was excitement and exhilaration, extreme level of happiness, excitement, achievement. So he was absolutely holistic with happiness, right? He was very, very, very happy. Supremely happy. Okay, so these are his feelings and emotions after reaching the summit. Okay. Now glance through the text again and explain the qualities of Tenzing Norgay. So, what are the qualities that he has? The qualities of Tenzing Norgay.
तेनजिंग नोर्गे यांचे गुण.
Right? So, unke gun that we see in this writing. Patriotic. And Colonel Hunt gives him 3 flags. One of Britain, one of United Nations, and one of Nepal. He says, I'm also going to carry an Indian flag and I'm going to put it on the top above the other 3 flags. Right? So this shows that he is patriotic. He loves his country, India. Right? He has love for his motherland. What other qualities does he have? He shows team spirit. When people ask him who climbed first, did Hillary climb first or Tenzing Norgay climb first? He says, we are not 2 people, we are one team and we both climb together, right? That shows his team spirit, right? And he's humble. Such a simple guy. He says, how does it matter whether I climb first or Hillary climbs first? It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. So he's so simple. He's such a beautiful person, right? And he's also religious. He believes in religion. How do we know? He talks about being Buddhist, right? He talks about his faith. My first thought on reaching the top was a sense of gratitude to God. So when he reaches the summit, the first thing he does is thank God. Thank you, God, for making this possible. So we know that he is religious. He believes in God, right? So these are the 4 qualities that we've seen. He's patriotic, he shows team spirit, he's humble, simple guy, and he's also religious. He believes in God. Okay. Now write down the significance of the following in context of the summit. So in context of this writing, what is the importance of the red scarf? Red scarf was given to him by another here. Here he says, I was wearing a red scarf which my great friend Lambert had given him. So that scarf was important to him because of the scarf, he felt like his friend was with him, right? So this is how Lambert had given Norgay his blessings, right? So the red scarf was given by Lambert, and it reminded that his friends' blessings were with him. Huzier, it means caution. Tenzing stressed that more caution was needed while descending. So when they were climbing up the summit, they were very careful and everything, but while coming down, they had to be even more careful, right? So they continued to be cautious because they wanted to reach home safely. Okay, what is the importance of the kerosene flavored tea? It shows the excitement and the hurry that the other team members felt that these two had reached the top, and they were so happy for them, and they were in such a hurry to make that tea that the tea became kerosene flavored, right? Usme thoda bahut kerosene gir gaya, so because of that it was smelling of kerosene. So not only Edmund and Hillary and Tenzing Norgay were excited, but their entire team who had been supporting them were equally excited at their achievement. XI-XII. Of course, they would use it on the mountains to create the way for them to be able to walk. And then on the top, he uses it to display the flag. There is no pole on the summit, right? So how do you display a flag? So he used his ice axe to display the flag, right? I'll just show you. Okay. Right? Because there's no pole there. So he's tied the, see this? He's tied the flag to the axe. Right? Because how do you display a flag? It's a huge flag and there's a lot of wind. So using the axe, Tenzing Norgay had displayed the flags on the top of the summit. Okay. Anchor. Anchor is support. A person or a thing that gives you support and safety during mountain climbing. Okay. So different kind of anchors are used so that you can safely climb a mountain. Okay. Question 3 adds suitable suffixes. So prefixes come at the beginning of a word, prefix, and suffixes come at the end of a word, suffix, right? Absolutely. Ly comes here at the end, so it's a suffix. Fulfillment, unfulfilled, determined, determination, danger, dangerous, endanger, right? Tightly, clearly, surely, legally, illegitimate, impossible, right? And here it will be possibly, legitimately, legally, surely, clearly, tightly, right? So this way you can complete this table, right? This table, suffix comes at the end of the word and prefix comes at the beginning of the word. Absolute, absolutely, fulfillment, determination, danger, dangerous, tightly, clearly, surely, legally, legitimately, possibly, and also impossible, illegitimate, illegal, right? Unsure, unclear, tight, tightly, untight. Untight? No, not untight. So there's no suffix for tight. So like this, you can complete this table, right? Untight. Untight is a word. In danger and dangerous. Indeterminate. Unfulfilled, right? So you can complete this table. The next question is fill in the blanks and use as adjective. Adjectives are describing words. Okay. So signed as an adjective. The advocate took the signed documents. Prized. Prized collection of coins. The fastened rope. Rope. The buried treasure. These are all adjectives, right? The next question, there is this. Signed, prized, RI. Right, fastened and buried. Right, now spot the error, one is done for you. So these are sentences which have some errors in them. You have to correct it. I was not afraid for die that day. I was not afraid to die that day. Tenzing and Hillary made a pact at the office of PM of Nepal. Tenzing and Hillary made a pact. Okay. I has to bring my ice axe down with me. I had to bring my ice axe down with me. Tenzing had spent a night with Camp 8. Tenzing had spent a night at Camp 8. pact was signed from Tenzing and Hillary was signed by Tenzing and Hillary. I and Hillary were in no mood of talking, were in no mood to talk. Okay, so these are the corrections you can make in these sentences. When they reached the summit, Tenzing in utter joy said, "We have done it." So here you have to change the subject and the object. We have done it. It has been done by us. We made a pact. The pact has been made by us. I offered a silent prayer in my heart. My heart offered a silent prayer. Colonel Hunt gave me 3 flags. 3 flags were given to me by Colonel Hunt. I was carrying the Indian flag. The Indian flag was being carried by me. I took photograph of Tenzing holding afloat the flags. Photographs of Tenzing holding afloat the flags were taken by me. I remembered him. He was remembered by me. We spent the night at Camp 8. Camp 8 the night was spent at Camp 8 by us. Right? Now these are some writing tasks that you can complete. Write in short about any adventure sport. You can write about trekking. You can write about cycling. You can write about car racing, rally, whatever you want to write. So you can write a paragraph about an adventure sport, a sport that involves adventure and risk. Okay. Now this is opinion. Give your opinion. We should or should not participate in adventure sports. So do you think one should participate in adventure sports or you think we should not? So if you think we should, give reasons why we should participate in adventure sports. If you think we should not participate in adventure sports, give reasons why we should not participate in adventure sports. Okay. Tenzing and Hillary created history by reaching the summit of Mount Everest. There were many mountains in Maharashtra where one can fancy his or her chances of climbing them. Imagine that you have climbed a mountain and are immensely thrilled and excited. Write a letter to your friend about it. So you have to imagine a situation like Tenzing and Hillary, and you have to write a letter to your friend, okay, about how absolutely ballistic with happiness you are, and you write about your immense excitement and thrill, right? Second is another letter which you write to the divisional officer for permission for a mountaineering expedition to be organized by your college. So you have to convince the principal, the divisional officer, that they should allow you to go on this mountaineering expedition, right? You're taking your college friends and team for this expedition. So this is again a letter. This is basically letter writing practice. So this is a formal letter. This is an informal letter which you write to a friend. This is a formal letter that you're writing to the divisional officer. And this is a letter which you have to turn into an email. Right? We know how to write emails. You have been getting emails, right? You have been getting emails from Catapult. So here you write the email of the person you're writing to. Prema, Miss Prema. Here is the subject. For example, she's the person you're writing for permission to. So you say permission for mountaineering expedition, right? And then the way you write a letter, you permission Okay. So, dear Miss Prema, and then you write your email and then you sign off as the college representative, right? Saying warm regards. Your name, ABC, college representative, right? So, this is how you write an email, right? You know how to write an email. You have done it. You keep doing it. So, this letter you will change into an email format. These are again some grammar exercises that you can explore. This is very interesting. So this is 3 forms of the word. When you describe one person, you use the first form of the verb, the positive form of the word, adjective. And when you talk about 2 nouns, you use the comparative forms, and more than 2 is superlative. Here 2 people are being compared, you and your brother. So you are cleverer than your brother. The tiger, when you see so it is supposed to be the superlative. Tiger is the most dangerous animal in the zoo. This is a busy road in town. So this is positive. My new house is bigger than the one I used to live in. So bigger than and the biggest. Okay. He is the most forgetful boy in class. So same way you can attempt these questions. So after the class, this resource will be shared with you, right? This has all the answers to the exercises we've just discussed. Okay. The brainstorming questions, the icebreakers, the summary of the chapter, and the questions. Okay. All right, bete. I'll see you in the next class. Bye bye.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night, bete.
Ma'am.
Good night, bete.